What's going on, guys? Russ Manxon here with Namra Consulting Group, here with Perry Kapiloff, otherwise known as the guy for ROI, one of my longtime friends. We'll go into how we know each other in this episode, but we're going to talk about all different types of marketing, so stay tuned. So, Perry, I'm having a hard time calling you Perry, as we've been over. It's hard not calling you Mr. Kapiloff, but we can tell everybody how we know each other. Obviously, we go way back. You're one of my best friend's fathers, and I grew up in your house, and we've played lots of golf together over the years. So why don't you tell everybody sort of what your background is in marketing, what your career's been like, even before marketing, just how you got into the world of business. And then we'll go into how that's all translated into what you're doing now.
Sure. Hey, thanks so much for having me here this morning. This is great. I've watched you grow up, and here you are, a big movie star now, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to have the studio here. It's great to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Well, when I was a little kid, I always wanted to get into radio. Radio was cool, right? And because it was theater of the mind. And for many, many years, I said, okay, this is what I want to do. And I started doing it. I worked at a little AM radio station. You may not know what AM radio is, Russell, but back in the day, they had AM radio stations. And I wanted to be on air. I wanted to be a play-by-play announcer. And I interviewed for one last job, or else I was moving to Colorado. And the manager said, I'll hire you. Have you ever sold anything? And I just wanted to get behind the microphone, And I said, well, does it mean I get the job if I say yes? And he said, well, yeah, if you'll sell, I'll let you go on the air. So that's what I started doing. I had no idea what I was doing. It was $5 a commercial at the time. That's if you were a big advertiser, or else it was $8. And I just had to start calling on people, walking into businesses. I had no clue what I was going to say, and just get a conversation going with people. I ended up spending about 20 years in radio, eventually through management, still did a lot of on-air things, but more on the advertising side than anything. And what was so exciting to me was just coming up with ideas for people. And radio, as I said earlier, was theater of the mind, and that's all we did was sell ideas to people. Many of the stations I worked at didn't have any listeners, as far as the ratings would tell us. After doing that for a while, I went on the advertising agency side of things, where people would hire me to put together entire campaigns for them. And then recently I drifted into television consultant work. I've been out on the road 17 years. I've got 4 states left. I probably have called on 5,000 different local business owners. Virtually any category you can think of, I've worked with. And the goal is, again, to come up with the idea that's going to make their advertising more impactful.
Awesome. And through all of this experience, I just want to put this out there at the beginning of this conversation, that you've been one of my biggest mentors ever since we started Namra, and ever since I went out and started knocking on doors and talking to businesses. One of my favorite stories is that first client that we got. You helped me prepare the presentation. It was when I was still in school, or maybe like a month out of college at that time.
Right.
And the one piece of advice you gave me was, look, you don't know what these people are valuing your services at yet, because you've never really made a sale. We don't know what your price point is. And so we were thinking we were going to come in at, like, I don't know, just for conversation's sake, like it was $3,000 for the year at that time, like just, a few $100s a month for some simple social media management services. And you said, hey, just say something crazy. Say something that makes you a little more uncomfortable. And I doubled it, and I said 6,000 in the presentation meeting, and they said yes right away.
Right.
And so with that, I learned my biggest lesson in marketing and in sales is that you never know what your price point is, because they would have gone higher. It was a quick yes at 6.
Yeah.
And so you never know what you could have gotten from there.
We say no for the client so many different times. I was working in Jackson, Mississippi a few years back, a good friend of mine, Charles Jackson. And Charles, they took me out to lunch at the Marathon gas station. Russell, have you ever been to Mississippi? They eat a lot of lunches inside of gas stations. And Mike was his associate that was with us, and he was screaming on the phone. And I said, hey, Charles, what's the deal with Mike? He said, well, he sells clients $1,200 packages every month. And at the end of each month, he has to argue with them to keep going because it's not working, right? And the manager told me in that market it took $4,000 to $5,000 to kind of really move the needle. I said, Charles, how much do you ask for? He said, well, I asked for $2,500. And I said, I appreciate the lunch here at the Marathon gas station, and you're buying me that brisket sandwich. It says $8.95 up there on the menu. So I know if I order it, it's going to cost me $8.95. How do people know what you're going to charge? Well, nobody knows. And that's the whole point, right? It's what you think your value is, A, and B, what's it going to take to move the needle? We can sell anybody anything, but it's got to be enough for it to work. If it doesn't work, we've wasted everybody's time and money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we have improved on over the years at Namra is sort of explaining to clients that, we want to help you be conservative, but there's also a level of being too conservative to the point where it's not even going to get you any results. And so we're always trying to be those consultants to help you find the middle ground, find what you're comfortable with, but also something that's going to bring you some positive results.
Absolutely. If you don't invest enough, it's just not going to work. So hold on to the money.
Let's go into the concept of the purple cow, another thing that you taught me in the very beginning. And I think it was actually like a concept that they tried to teach us in school when I remembered like the concept of like the one thing.
Yes.
And focusing your marketing on one thing. But can you tell everybody in your own words what the purple cow story is?
Well, the purple cow is just digging deep with a client and finding the one thing that's going to separate them from everything else, right? The purple cow, I'm forgetting the author's name now, but a very successful marketing book. And it's a matter of if you sit and listen to a client, if you ask good questions, they're going to tell you the one thing that's going to separate them from everybody else. So I'll give you an example of probably the most powerful singular message that's been out in the last 30 or 40 years. If I say the gecko to you, what company do you think of?
Geico.
Right. And what do they sell?
Insurance.
What kind?
Car insurance.
Car insurance. So it's an interesting case study in that Warren Buffett, I'm more of a Jimmy Buffett fan, as you know, but Warren Buffett's been fairly successful in business. And when he bought Geico, which is the government employee insurance company, he was up against all the big boys, maybe like a lot of your clients, right? He didn't necessarily have the budget to go up against State Farm and Farmers and all these different companies. Mm-hmm. So everybody wanted homeowners insurance. And he did a little bit of research, and what he found was that most guests go to the front door of the house. So Farmers was trying to sell they were trying to sell homeowners insurance, and they would go to the front door and say, hey, can we protect your house? And then almost like secondarily, they would say, hey, how many cars do you have? So there wasn't as much money in the cars. The money was in the house. Well, Buffett's research showed that almost everybody who owned the house, who had a connected garage to the house, went into their house through the garage. So he began what I call garage messaging. Hey, can I come into your garage? I could save you 15%, right? And once he got you in with the car insurance, then he would sell the homeowners. So he outmaneuvered everybody, outflanked him really, by talking about one thing. Hey, can I come into your garage? He started with the cars, now it's boats, now it's motorcycles, now it's RVs. Two things have happened. One, he's the second largest car insurer in the world, in the United States, rather. Have you ever seen him advertise homeowners? Never, right? Very, very rarely. Top 20 in homeowners. So the purple cow was, let me in the garage, I could save you 15% on the car. His real goal was to get to that house. It's worked tremendously. And nobody has figured out, I mean, if you ask a general person, hey, what's their message? Oh, it's car insurance. It's really the homeowner's insurance. So that's what we're always looking for is what is the one thing that's going to lead me to the result where I can make the most amount of money for my client in our marketing campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I've loved that ever since we started talking about it like 6 years ago when, we were going into our first initial consultations, and it really informed what became like our big launch day. And you were the kind of the brain behind the launch day concept of making it a fun full day experience anytime we bring on a client, really diving into who they are and what their business is all about, what value they provide to their customers and the surrounding community. Because so many times, like, we launch a new client and they didn't know what their purple cow was. It's us having the outside perspective on their business and looking at it through a different lens. And then we go, oh, that part's actually really cool. And it's that thing that they don't even look at twice. Like when they're going through their day, they don't think of it as a marketing deal or something that they can talk about consistently, but it ends up being like the coolest part of their business or the coolest thing that they do. And like you said, you could outmaneuver somebody just by marketing a different service and getting yourself in the door strategically. So there's that side too, not only just like the creative, like, you know, what's our fun Purple Cow like marketing message, but what's really the service that we're going to market heavily as well.
That's right. And I have found over the years, Russell, that more people actually know what their Purple Cow is, but they've never thought about it on the next level. Okay, well, I hadn't really thought about that. Well, no, you really had, because you told me about it in our initial meeting, but they've never executed it. It's so close to them that they can't see it. So that's where you can come in as the outsider and say, hey, have you thought about promoting this? Yesterday I was working with a doctor in Pennsylvania, and her thing is dry eyes. She has a unique service of dealing with dry eyes. And she goes, oh, yeah, by the way, we also bought our own lens cutting machine. So instead of waiting 10 days to get new lenses, we can do them the same day. But, you know, the dry eye, and she kept talking about the dry eye, the dry eye, dry eye. And what I came back with is, no, it's lenses in a day. Because that speed is so important in today's world. That's what people want. They want things fast. We live in an instant gratification world, right? So it's in front of them. They spent a lot of money, but they didn't want to talk about it. And we just took that concept and said, no, that's what we're going to talk about.
Right. The process is the product.
The process is the product.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love
and
that.
it's very profitable for them, because if I get somebody in, even if they're not a current patient, but they need new glasses and they can get them today, and all of a sudden I got them in the building. And that's our only job as advertisers, is to get them in the building. And once we get them in the building, they have to sell their own service.
Yep, 100%. No, I like that a lot. And one of the biggest things that we've done, like sort of on a similar note with real estate agents, is helping them get in the door strategically with the people that they want to connect with, which isn't really the people buying homes. It's not really the individual first-time home buyer that they want to call them. They want the referral sources, like the chickens versus the egg. So we've helped them, you know, sort of see that other side of the strategy, which is networking with people in their industry, networking with potential referral sources, and doing videos with them. So instead of doing videos only talking about the products that they offer and how that they can help a first-time home buyer when they're looking to buy, they're doing videos about how I can help your clients, and I'm a trusty referral partner for you. And that sort of has shifted. Like in Rhode Island, a lot of agents are doing that now because of clients who have done that well and sort of like set the tone, but we've guided and helped a lot of people do a similar sort of thing in their industries. So
yeah, video is king. It doesn't matter the category. Video is the world that we're living in. It's interesting. Real estate, it's really hard to separate everybody from everybody else. I mean, how much different is each individual service? So the fact that you're recommending, hey, build up your referring campaign, building that referral list, is really powerful for them.
Yep, absolutely. So it's all about, you know, strategy. There's many ways to look at marketing, and that's why having the outside opinion helps so much. Like so many times, like you said, they're a little too close to their own processes and their own like day-to-day marketing messages that they're seeing every day. And when we come in and just totally have a new perspective on their business and what their goals are, sometimes it's like this light bulb moment that comes easy to us that they were right next to, but they just couldn't quite reach, you know, internally within their team.
They couldn't plug in the light bulb.
Right.
It was there. They had all the ingredients,
there.
and they just couldn't see it.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So let's sort of like wrap up the Purple Cow concept by saying really the idea behind the Purple Cow is that you want to keep things focused. You don't want to be overwhelming your audience with a bunch of different benefits of working with you. You want to pick one that you can repeatedly hit them with so that they actually recognize this is what you do best. And that translates to all other aspects of your marketing strategy, such as not being in too many places, right?
Right. Well, the goal is to own the file in somebody's brain. We got this giant file cabinet on our shoulders, right? So we're just trying to own, that's the file for dry eye, or that's the file for real estate, or whatever it is. And if we have a consistent message, and we keep hammering it away, I ask that Geico question all the time. I've been doing it for years, and everybody goes, auto insurance. Yeah, I know, but they're really selling homeowners. But they own that category now. And now you see companies like Liberty and all these other companies are trying to get that business from them. It's too late. They own it. Unless they make a drastic mistake, they're going to own that file. The other thing that we see happen a lot Russell, is people take their money and they just try and spread it everywhere,
Yep.
right? So they want to be all things to all people. They want to reach as many people as they can. And that's certainly a goal of advertising. But one of the things we have to figure out is who is it they want to reach? Who is it they want to talk to, right? And it's probably not everybody. You know, the real estate agent probably wants to talk to other, from what you're saying, other real estate agents, right? Or people inside of that network. But if they're trying to talk to me to get to that person, it's the wrong target. So we have to figure out who it is we want to talk to. And this is an area where I see people just drop the ball completely. Well, almost 80% of the time, I want to talk to the woman who's running the house because she's going to make all the decisions or she's going to influence our decisions. Yeah, but I see a lot of men in. I should take some money and talk to the man. No, let's just take our money, be very narrow who we want to talk to, right? A 10-year period. Okay, what's the sweet spot? Well, you know, they're 30 to 70. Okay, does that mean a 50-year-old person? I mean, who is the person you see the most of? Right? So...
and to be clear, for those of you out there wondering why it's so important to consolidate your audience, it's budgetary. It's expensive to talk to everybody. If you have an unlimited budget and unlimited production bandwidth, and everybody wants to be the most well-known brand on the face of the earth and have every Super Bowl commercial and be on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, TikTok, and every other platform known to man. And that's great.
Nobody has the budget.
Nobody has the budget. So it's our job as consultants to say, well, what do you got? And who are you trying to talk to?
Right.
And how do we super specifically talk to them? Because every dollar wasted on somebody who isn't them is truly a dollar wasted.
That's right. Yeah. So we know who we want to talk to. We know what we want to say. And then the final aspect is we've got to say it enough times so I can own that file cabinet. So I'm a big believer in super high frequency in fewer places. Now, in marketing, we have frequency or frequently. Frequency, which is better to have? Well, frequently means I get a whole bunch of messages, right? I don't care where they show up. Frequency means the right person gets exposed to my message. And if I can hit that woman who's 50 years old who's making that decision 50 times, instead of hitting her once or twice, it's going to be much more impactful, obviously, right? So advertising in fewer places, heavier aimed at that one person, is really what this is all about, right?
And that goes back to marketing fundamentals, just frequency of impressions. You want to choose that target audience and hit that one person with a really good message as many times as possible. I think in the old days, it was like 12 impressions could convert a sale. And that was like traditional marketing, print marketing, you know, the placemat at the local diner, things like that. You would be able to build some brand recognition through like 12 to 15 impressions or something like that. But now it's got to be way higher.
Yeah, well, the number for many, many years was a 3 frequency, right?
Okay.
And it came out of an ad agency in New York. Back in the 60s or 70s or so, and it was probably a conversation like this. Well, how many times do we have to hit somebody? Well, I think 3 will do it. And that 3 became the magic number, right? And now people are like, oh, I think it's 4. No, I think you're right. It's probably 15 or 20 times, right?
Yeah,
especially
now.
Right, we are so bombarded by messages every single day. How do we cut through the clutter? How do we make our clients stand out more, right? It's a narrow focus. The narrower the focus, the wider the message goes.
Absolutely. And so what we preach to all of our clients, because you don't really want to see the same advertisement 12 times in a row. And a lot of times our brains are programmed to just tune out when we see an ad, even out of the corner of our eye, or we're skipping the YouTube ad the second the skip button pops up because we have it timed subconsciously now. It's like we're very good at avoiding ads. And so what we preach is adding value through your advertising or through your social media posts. And so what I'm curious about is, since you do less of like the day-to-day social media posting that we do, where it's obvious you need to provide value or else no one's going to follow you.
Right.
When you're doing commercials, like real legit campaigns for larger companies, are you seeing that it's more still about being like really catchy with like the jingles, which we can go into even more?
Right.
Or is it starting to trend towards like we need to come up with some actual value added piece of information that we're teaching somebody about? Like, is it to actually retain their attention?
Well, first off, there has to be a call to action. I don't care whether it's social media, traditional media, whatever. Give me a reason to respond, right? And it's got to be quick now, because how quick can I shut off the YouTube? 5 seconds?
Real quick.
Right. So I need something that's going to work within 5 seconds, because I'm living in a video world. You are as well. So a very strong call to action.
And by call to action, you mean like you're identifying like who the audience is right out of the gate?
No, give me a reason to respond to what you're seeing. In other words, buy two, get one free type thing. Give me a reason to, we watch all the big boxes. They do it all the time. Hey, if you buy this, you also get that, right? So we always have to provide reasons for people to respond to our message. And we got to do it fairly quick, because like you said, the attention span today, I'm a little older than you, so my attention span might be a little bit longer, but watching my kids, very short attention span. So I've got to get that message out there really quick. And give people a reason to say, hey, I want to buy that. I want to buy that wine mixer that you have on your head, right? If we don't give them a reason, they're not going to respond. And the same, I'm sure is true in social media, right?
Yep. Yeah. We usually put the call to action at the end. So you sneak up on them with education or some sort of like information that they're interested in, or entertainment. It can be, we always say value added is either entertaining or educational.
Okay.
So those are the two streams. So we kind of lure them in with the educational content or something funny. And then at the end, there's always the slide with their contact information and, call us today. Right. And that's like the social media call to action.
Okay. Again, as the outsider looking at it, I would say, why should I call you today?
Yeah.
So give me the reason to make the call.
Well, it depends on like the piece of content.
Sure.
Like sometimes if it's a very clear post that's like a call to action post where it's, hi, I'm Russ, I offer these services, then the number will be on the screen the whole time and it'll be like a very straightforward commercial. But a lot of times, you don't want to put a call to action on social media on every post.
On every post, sure.
You want to educate and you want to be there for the people, and so that's what most people are trying to do with their branding. But that being said, you do that all day, but all your contact information is right on your Instagram profile anyway.
That's right.
So your whole page is a call to action.
Yeah.
As long as you're communicating properly and actually helping people understand a subject better, you can come off as an expert, and social media allows them to come right to you.
Gotcha.
Like a message or a call. So.
Yeah. So marketing is definitely evolving as we move forward, right? A good friend of mine, Tom Ray, wrote a book called "Branding is Out, Results Are In." Branding is out, results are in. So this is who we are. We're pretty cool.
Yeah.
They just want the cash register to ring, don't they?
Yeah. So they're hiring us because they want to have that online portfolio. They know that if they're running ads, the audience is eventually going to Google them and land on their Facebook or Instagram to check out who they actually are. And so social media is like who you actually are. The advertisement is like, hey, look at us real quick, check us out if you need this. And then you go to the Facebook page to see who they actually are, who owns the company, more information. And so not every post on your Instagram account has to be that same ad that you saw on TV. It's more like, hey, I'm the owner and this is how we started. And, you go more in depth about the different services you offer and educate people on current market updates or whatever is going on in your industry.
Gotcha.
And that's where like it becomes more about branding in a sense, because it's like building your career. It's literally networking. It's social networking. And we're just helping people put a professional professional look to what they really should be doing already, which is having the same conversations that you and I are having now. We're just recording it.
Okay.
And that's sort of what we do for clients is we enhance their networking, because all the things they're doing, if they go to a networking event, we follow them with cameras and we can show everything that they did that night, a couple conversations they had, tag a bunch of people at the event, and it helps them really enhance their social network, which is, it's their personal brands.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right, so you can scratch my branding's out.
Well, no, because that's like your side of, I think that's interesting for people to see, like the perspective, because I want people to know that I do understand your side and you understand my side.
Yeah.
And so they can call either one of us, and you're going to get somebody who actually is aware of like the biases in the entire marketing marketplace. That's what I think we can provide to people, because they listen to a lot of people who are just sell on what they do. And on this podcast, we want to kind of open people's eyes to like, there's going to be guys out there who want to sell like the short term ads or not even want to, like really are getting ROI on short term ads. And that's your whole career has been built on really crushing it in that realm.
Right.
And then our whole business has been built on the back of like slow and steady wins the race. You just need to be consistent on Facebook and Instagram and build that foundation. And we're both right because we're both getting results in our own way. It just comes down to what each individual client needs or wants.
Right.
And in most cases, like if the budget's there, you could be doing both, or you would be doing both. You'd be running your ads all over streaming platforms and TV, and you'd have a podcast, and you'd be putting out like organic videos on social. And so it comes down to budget and timeline.
Right.
Maybe if somebody really does need short-term sales in the next 3 months, they shouldn't be hiring us. And we tell them that, honestly. We're like, hey, if time is of the essence, we don't want to work with you because that's not really what we're about. We want to build your foundation and start to just slowly get your social brand going. And so we consult on that too.
Interesting. Okay. It's a different way of looking at things for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of our clients now, like 5-6 years in, are getting their money back 3 times over on the investment they made in the first couple of years where it was a little slower because they have hundreds of videos now on their YouTube channel that they were paying for this whole time. A few videos every month has built up. And now when somebody goes on their feed, they have this huge portfolio of work and their SEO is really strong because they have so many videos on YouTube and Google and they're all linked properly. So both sides are valuable. It just comes down to budget and timeline, I would say.
Yeah. And how do you make them work together?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, because you want all the dollars working for, is the goal to get them to watch more videos.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what a whole campaign's about. Hey, just watch more videos and you'll learn everything about me.
Yeah. And it's super important on that note to work with somebody who understands like the full scope of marketing. Like if you're going to say you're going to hire both of us, whoever's managing both of us really needs to understand both sides very well, or it needs to be like a company who actually internally has process in place for both of us so that we can communicate and make sure everything syncs properly. Like we work really hard with web developers to make sure we have good partnerships with them because our marketing has to sync really well with the website. And if we start running really great Facebook ads, but the website link breaks that we ran the ad to and the developer sucks, then we look bad because, and it has nothing to do with us. So like, and it would be the same if you and I were to share a client. It would be like, well, we want to make sure that the same sort of brand, like the color schemes and the overall look and feel of all the profiles match what you guys are running on TV for advertisement, so they know they're in the right place when they do go to check you out on Facebook or Google. And that's kind of like what the social media branding side's about too. It's like you might see us on the billboard, but your Facebook has to be branded just like the billboard was, so you know you're in the right place. It's the correct business's Facebook page. This is us. You know?
It gets back to that singular message. The message can sometimes just be the look, right?
Yep.
The golden arches are the same everywhere, right? So if they're doing social or if they're doing billboard or if they're doing whatever, oh, that's McDonald's. I know that instantly. So you're right. Everything's got to work together.
Yep.
It does always come down to budget, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, always. And it ends up being the conversation that I have with people within the first 5 minutes. Like if they call, like right away, I'm very transparent with where our packages start and where they can go. And they can go to infinity.
Right.
Like that's pretty much what I tell everybody. I'm like, look, if you have an unlimited budget, like we have unlimited capacity, so bring it on. We can handle it, but no one has that. And so our job is to say, all right, well, what do you actually have to work with on a regular basis that's not going to freak you out and make you like very impatient? I always have that conversation up front because we work with people on retainer. It's a year-long plan. We don't want it to be like, well, where are my sales in the first month? It's like, hey, it takes us 3-4 weeks to shoot the first round of videos and get things churning. And it's a process for us to onboard you and for you to really start going on social. So it's all about just that first conversation. Like, what are your goals?
Yeah. I'm working with a lady. in the middle part of the country, and she only asked for 3-year deals. I said, Katie, 3 years you're asking for? I've never seen anybody ask for 3 years. And she said, well, it's the same. Yes, it has a 1-year deal, isn't it? Except 3 years, it can really work well.
Yeah.
Right? And more often than not, as we worked together, she was getting 2-year deals and then going in there and selling them to continue along so they could get the impact out of their marketing. Too many people just stick their toes in the water and go, man, that's kind of cold. I got to jump out, right?
Yep.
So you need that 1-year commitment.
Yeah. Yep.
2-year commitment.
2-year would be great.
Right.
The longer, the better. And our goal is obviously to completely earn
you got to earn it.
second year and beyond from
Right.
crushing it the first year. And that's our goal with every client. So,
Sure.
And we don't even lock people in. We just verbally say, hey, like mentally you need to be all in. Like you need to actually commit to this. We need to be on the same page in terms of that this is a slow growth process. It's all about laying a steady foundation and just being consistent. And as long as they know and they've seen enough people in their industry do similarly or similar strategy and actually succeed and build a brand over a couple years, they know it's possible. And so if they commit to it, great. They're a great client for us. But we always have that conversation as early as we can.
Well, I like the story you told me before we went on air here about the cleaning company. And she started very tiny, right? And she went from 1 vehicle to, what, do you say 20 vehicles now?
Yeah, 15, 20 cars, easily like 20 to 25 employees on any given day. The operation's crazy, and she was like a one-woman show when we met 5 or 6 years ago and started doing like really basic Facebook posts. And I mean, the credit's all hers, right? Like she's obviously built the business up, networked her ass off, and she's crushed it. But we rebranded her business in the last couple of years, and it's like, Dustin Hopkins, a web developer we work with, built a new website for her, and it's just a lead machine, like an intake machine. It's a whole lead form kind of woven right into the website as they scroll through. So it's like really smooth, well-operating site that connects really well with our branding, and it's going great. And she hit $1 million in revenue last year, so we're so proud of that as
Absolutely.
a success story. But obviously, but that's the thing though, it goes back to like what I just said, which is credit's Nandy. Like she crushed it in business, and we have clients or I shouldn't say we have clients, we've had clients in the past, because they're not with us anymore, who they just weren't doing the work on their own, or they didn't have the network on their own. And so that becomes part of the consultation in the very beginning as well, is like, where are you starting from professionally? Is this your first year in business and you don't know a single person? Or have you built a reputation for the last 15 years and you know a lot of people? So when we put this first video up, it might actually crush it. Because like for you, for example, if we made a video for you, you have a lot of clients all over the country who know you, who've worked with you, lots of connections. A lot of people might see that video even organically before you put money behind it, just because of the actual reputation you have. And that we account for when we start working with somebody, when we start to say, like, what can you actually expect for results in the first couple months, especially? Yeah.
One of the questions I like to ask early on with somebody new, Russell, is what's the perception of your business? In other words, if I was in Pawtucket and I stopped somebody on the street and I said, hey, what do you think of XYZ cleaning? What do you think people would tell me? Well, we're nice people. No, what would they say about your business, right? And then you can start building networking for them, campaigns for them, right? Because this is what we're known for now, and take advantage of that.
Yep. We always ask desired public perception. That's one of our launch day questions. It's what you are now versus like where you want to be in terms of how people perceive you publicly,
Yeah.
I like that.
How many people that you meet with and your team meets with know what they want their advertising to do?
A lot of them have ideas. I think less people know exactly what they want to advertise, like in terms of services and stuff. A lot of people have a misunderstanding of how to allocate it. Like that's the biggest problem that I see, is like a business owner calls me and they're just like, all right, I'm going to spend this on Google ads and this on Facebook and this on TV and this on paper. And I'm like, I know you, like, you're not that guy. Like I know it, your business is totally not marketing. And so you have it's not to say they're not a smart business owner, but a lot of times they feel like they should be making those decisions. And I think that's a bigger, like,
how to allocate the money.
Yeah.
Spreading too thin in a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big thing that I see all the time. The question I like to always end with, okay, I get what you're investing in. We just spoke for 45 minutes. What has the greatest priority to you right now? If I said, look, I could have your advertising do any one thing, what do you want it to do? And I get more blank stares because they've never thought about it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm here every day. I know, but do you want to sell this, or do you want to sell that, or do you want to talk to these people, or what has the priority to you?
Yep.
Then we can figure out how to allocate monies.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes they tell us how they allocate just to make it look like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, and that's where it becomes like a little ego. It's like, look, like it's kind of our job to tell you where you should be, but they're worried about being honest with us about their budget.
Right.
And that's like,
but they don't want to look silly to us. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. And that's a wall that like it takes a few years to break down. Like even Nandy, shout out to Nandy, like every once in a while there's just like, you'll find like, oh yeah, I've had some Google ads running behind the scenes for a little while or whatever it is. And it's like, hey, like,
what do you
got to
mean?
tell us about that.
That's
yeah,
right.
because we can put that into this or that.
Right.
And, so.
And what words are you using? Well, I'm using this.
Yeah,
I know, but you don't do that, though.
Yeah. And so, it's not like to say anybody's doing that stuff on purpose, but I think they're just naive enough to think that it's easy to like just, I'm just going to throw up some Google ads or I'm going to throw up some Facebook, whatever. And now it's getting way more complicated. Literally 5 years ago, I would say that's fine. Do your own thing, play around with it a little bit. Now it's getting so meticulous to set up a proper Google ad or Facebook campaign that you need to let us know what your real budget is, not the budget you want us to know about. Because if you tell us like, hey, there's $500, sneaking away on Google ads or this or that or a billboard in whatever town, we need to know about all of that because that makes a huge difference in the grand scheme of your marketing strategy. That might be an extra video that you can afford or a different like split test campaign that you can play around with in a different area that leads to better results 6 months from now. Like we just need to know all of it. And that's where we are as a team at Namra trying to mold ourselves and mold our brand into being more consultants for people, not just people who are trying to sell our social media management services, because it's so important that you allocate it properly.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we are mismanaged.
Right.
And that happens to us all the time. They hire us and then they mismanage us. And then there's nothing we can do. And it's like, if you just gave us the goal and let us go, we've got it.
Right, right. But they're afraid to let go.
Yep.
Everybody's
and that's where trust comes in. That's where I think the brand does come in. And that's why we're doing stuff like this. I know like in 5 years, somebody might scroll back and watch this video of us talking, and that could lead to a sale. That's like the long-term. We're still new in our careers. It's like we're still building our professional reputations. And so that stuff, people need to trust us. Like it takes a while. And it even takes our clients a few years to like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that.
Right. Right. That happens all the time.
Yeah. But you earn that. You like earn the rest of the budget.
Yeah. Well, on this job, traveling consulting job I do, I'm talking to strangers all the time. So I only have about 75 seconds to earn somebody's trust. Right. So how do you go about doing it? Because I've got to get all the information you want, but I don't have a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. And so I get them talking about. I usually start with their website. There's something there that can start a conversation with them. And more often than not, you probably see it with your clients, Russell. They don't know what's on their website.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, how's that coupon working?
Yeah.
We have a coupon
that's
on?
not on. Yeah, that's not available anymore.
Yeah, that expired 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's still on there. Okay. But it just shows you did some homework.
Yep.
And the more homework you can do with your clients before you go call on them, the smarter you're going to look and how much quicker you're going to earn that trust from them. As I find out how they've allocated the money, what I like to ask them is, hey, what works? How do you feel about Google AdWords? Well, it's just, and if you ask them, you begin to find out what didn't work. So the money you can ask for is the things that aren't working, and then you keep filling up the ones that are working.
Right. And that's like, again, day one, conversation one is like, what's the general marketing strategy? More of what's working, less of what's not.
That's right.
That's just all we're trying to do.
But people are afraid to let go with it. Oh, it might work. I don't know.
Right.
I ran into somebody that had yellow pages. I've stopped asking about yellow pages, and because it was, not long ago, they were spending several $100,000 in Yellow Page advertising. The attorneys kept the Yellow Pages in business, right? Well, but if I give it up, somebody else will get it. All right, we'll let them sacrifice $60,000, right? So asking questions and listening is just so important.
Yeah, 100%. That was like one of the first things you taught me too, was like, you don't even need to say anything to really close a sale if you ask the right questions.
Right, and let them answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because
100%.
we all want to talk about, whoa, this is what I can do for your social media. This is what I can do electronically or whatever. They don't care.
Yeah.
Nobody will listen to these people.
Right.
Right? It's like being Dr. Phil half the time.
Yeah.
Please listen to me. I've got to tell you this story, right, about my business. Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'll listen to you. Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, you're only there because whatever they're doing is not working.
Yeah,
so
if it's working, they're not calling us.
All you have to do really is be patient, sit back, keep asking questions and like prying. And eventually they're going to tell you like why you're there.
Right.
And then you can actually start to give them some sort of solution. But a lot of times the first half hour of a meeting is just bouncing around. So asking those questions, helping them focus in on like what you're looking for, shows that you're an expert and you know what you're looking for. Gives them that confidence to actually be honest with you. And
Wait, a couple of most powerful terms you can use is, you told me, or you said, right? And that's what happens. They begin nodding their head because, well, I can't believe it. Somebody just listened to what I said, right? So you're gaining trust with them because you're actually listening to them.
Yep.
Now, don't, of course, say this to my wife because she says I never listen to her anyways,
I love it. Awesome. I like that a lot. Where else do we want to go?
What do they base success on? I mean, what is success in your clients' minds?
It's different. Oh, that's what I was going to bring up off of one of your other points, is like a lot of times they don't know what the goal is. So many times we actually find out that they aren't even looking for more sales. Like their sales are fine. They're sometimes trying to like educate people on how to interact with their business and like consolidate how they intake leads, because people are calling and emailing and texting and sending messages on Instagram. And they're like, hey, we just need to like rebuild our marketing so people just contact us through this one way, where they understand how our process works a little bit better. Like it totally depends on where the business is at. But there's plenty of businesses we work with that their referral bases are so strong, their business is coming in like crazy, and a lot of their marketing content, like email blasts, and they need videos and stuff that go out to current customers to say like, hey, if you're looking for this, here's where to find it on our website. If you're looking for that, like, so you never know. You can't assume you're going into that meeting just to get them more sales or more clients. Right. Sometimes it's like a communication issue that you're trying to solve through marketing.
Right. And it's funny too, because you can't get anybody on the phone anymore, right? I mean, it's like an adventure. And I'll ask people, hey, how do you want somebody to contact you? And they look at you like bewildered. Well, yeah, no, but how do you want them to? Right. You told me nobody goes to your website because you didn't know that coupon had expired, right? So that's a valuable service that you folks are offering, and it's such basic stuff, is it not? The things that we talk to people about, we're not trying to reinvent the rocket, right? This is just basic things that are right in front of us. Yeah. And we look kind of smart when we come up with something really basic for them, don't we?
Absolutely. Well, it's because they missed it because it wasn't even marketing. It's like that's almost it's a business function. It's not even like it's not marketing. It's just we're helping you communicate. We're like communications experts as well as just marketers, trying to advertise for you.
For sure.
So it's any word that you're trying to get out to any audience, even if it's your internal customer base that isn't like jiving with you for whatever reason. Right. We can help you make the video for that, or write the email for that, or any type of content. So it's been interesting. That's my favorite part of the job, is so many different types of businesses. We work with like 80 different industries, and it's just constant. And within each industry, every business is at a different point. Like some of them are just they're in startup mode. They need sales fast. They're trying to just like build their book of business and get things rolling. Some of them are at the point where they're bogged down with too many clients and they just are realizing that their processes need improving. And so we're helping them with that, and like everything in between and up until, multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're really cranking out business, and they just are going for the super corporate, very high-end, clean look, like no face behind this logo whatsoever. Like this is just this is who we are. Boom, like
Image.
Apple, right?
Right.
Like that sort of brand. And so that's what I love about it, but that's what I want people to understand, that like I have the experience working with. So you can't shock me. If you call me and say this is what's going on and I need help, like we've got your back. We'll figure out a way to work through it, whether it's introducing them to somebody like you or a great web developer who can help or anybody else in our network or services that we provide. We're just here to help you find the right solutions.
Yeah, and that's what the partnership should be, right? Because I don't have all the answers. I can make up answers, but I don't really have all the answers. But I can get you to people who can help you with that.
Yep.
And then you become a valuable resource to the advertiser, to that client of yours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I think that covers everything I wanted to cover. I want to talk about a lot more if you're willing to come back in some other day, because I know that you're dealing a lot with streaming services. And what is the acronym?
Probably one of the dumbest names ever to come out of marketing. They call it OTT.
OTT.
Over the top television.
Yep.
And we're all doing it. You know, media consumption has not changed. It hasn't decreased. It's just changed the way we consume our media, right? So when I walked in here today, you had YouTube on,
Yep.
right? So you're still consuming video.
Yep.
And that's really what the world's about. Now we still have to just take it off one screen and move it to another screen.
Yep. Just
and that's
which
all
platform?
we're doing. Yeah, it's just, you know, the days of newspaper, there's not a lot of video in newspaper, right? So it's all going to become, we live in a screened world,
Yep.
right? The telephone screen was the game changer. Mm-hmm. We have this screen, we have the big screens.
Yep.
So video is going to be where we're going to go moving forward, and that's what you folks are doing here very nicely.
Yep, definitely. So I'm excited to learn more about OTT and like the different targeting options. And again, I just want people to know that we know a lot about all different types of marketing and what's out there in the digital marketing space in general. So we are in a position to help guide you, and so are you.
Sure.
If people want to contact you, how do they?
Well, they can reach me at the guyforroi.com. ROI, by the way, stands for return on investment. You'd be shocked how many times people say, "What's ROI mean?" Right? And I like to show people. I want to break that down. If you invest $1, how many people do you need to get that money back? Right? I don't want to break even. I want to show 4, 5, 6, whatever that number is, ROI to people. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Or they can get in touch with you, and of course, you and I are always kind of doing the hang, you know.
Of course.
You know, so.
Yep. Three-way calls from the golf course.
That's right. Well, I'm not playing golf unless you're on my team. I'm not golfing with you. You know what I mean? But I can't thank you enough for inviting me down here. I'm just so proud of you, the way you've blossomed into this superstar marketing guy, and the way your company has grown from 6 years ago when we first started talking about this to where we are now. This is fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the support. Honestly, I couldn't have done it without you. So thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
You got to come back soon.
Will do. All right, pal.
Good to see you.
Take care now.
All right. Thanks, guys.